It's Song Talk Radio with Michael, Neil, Phil, and the gang.
Welcome to Song Talk Radio. This is episode 305, the very first show of 2020 and the very first show of the decade.
Yeah, happy 2020.
Very
excited.
The first new show of we did a repeat.
Yes, the first
That's
live
true.
new show. This is a show with songwriters talking to other songwriters about the craft of songwriting, even this year. We share tips, tools, and techniques, and together we all become better at writing songs. I'm your host, Neil Modi, and with me are the New Year members of the Song Talk Radio Action Team. We have Festivus Phil.
I'm very festive. I've got bells on, but you don't want to. You don't want to know where.
You have a poll. You have a poll.
Thank God it's radio.
We've got Merriment Mike.
I'll do my best to bring happiness and joy.
Good.
The whole year through.
That's what we like, because apparently we have sad songs in store tonight.
That's
so
right,
We're
yes.
gonna need some of that. And on social media tonight, we have Resolution Rita.
Hey, Rita.
Rita.
Ooh.
Make any New Year's resolutions there? No?
Rita says no.
That's
She
good.
doesn't have a microphone.
And finally on the tech board, it's Decorations Dawn.
Yes, 2020 Vision, Dawn.
2020 is
2020
very
vision.
good.
And during the show, please send in your comments and questions to at Song Talk Radio on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or feedback at songtalk.ca, and we'll share them with the audience in real time. And please stop by songtalk.ca to find out how you can be a guest on the show
And
tonight.
about news.
Let's introduce our guest first, because they might want to contribute on the news.
That's good.
Toronto-based duo Featurette was formed by lead singer Lexie Jay and drummer Jon Fedorsen. Featurette makes emotionally charged, heavy-hitting electro-pop music that has been met with international critical acclaim. After receiving their first full recording grant from Factor Canada, the duo released their debut LP CRAVE in October 2016. Featurette are bringing honesty and grit into pop music with the release of their sophomore album Dream Riot on January 17th via all streaming platforms, following a whirlwind year sharing stages with Alessia Cara, Scott Helman, and Walk Off the Earth. Featurette has emerged from the studio with a polished, dark pop sound that is uniquely their own on Dream Riot. Welcome to the show, Lexie and Jon.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and before we get to your songs, guys, Phil from the
thanks,
news
that's
desk. Thanks for coming on
bye.
the show.
It's been
See
great.
you later.
Happy 2020.
There's been some cutbacks here on Song Talk Radio. So, well, of course, the big news is the passing of Neil Peart
Yeah.
from Rush,
Yeah.
which was
Rolling
shocked to hear.
Stones' fourth greatest drummer ever.
yeah.
Fourth?
Fourth.
Who were the top three?
I don't know. I
Okay.
just read it. Neil's obit. I
You just
didn't go
read the
back
headline?
and-
I thought you had to research for this show.
God, no. I
should.
just found out your name was Featurette. So.
So, because Neil, I know Rush is one of your favorite bands. I think isn't it?
One of my favorite bands that I kind of discovered by accident. Actually wrote a piece on my blog over the weekend about my sort of history with Neil Peart and how he Neil Peart, sorry, how he influenced me in terms of his lyrics and his drumming style and his philosophy and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, for me it was literally just like towards the end of high school. I've happened to be in the public library and I picked up a tape of Presto and I'm like, I've heard of this band before, but I was expecting to hear like really bad heavy metal, and then I was like, oh, this is like fused with jazz and funk and rock, and wow, what a drummer.
Yeah, they had a really good, solid beat and groove to all
Yeah, like
their
super
songs.
tight.
Yeah.
But yeah, that certainly influenced me a lot.
Yeah, it's sad. I didn't know he was actually that sick. I know he was going to retire. But
He was a very private person. He didn't do interviews. He didn't come out into the limelight, even though he wrote a song called Limelight.
Though he did do the Strombo show, the hour of George
Yes,
Stroumboulopoulos,
yes.
and that was a really good interview. So that's
Yeah.
worth looking up on YouTube.
Yeah, and the thing with Neil Peart is when you do hear him talk, I mean, what an articulate, intelligent man,
right.
and just a ton of information and a ton of wisdom, in fact.
Yeah, they were actually the first big band I actually saw at Maple Leaf Gardens with
Oh,
Max
yeah?
Webster opening for them.
Oh,
So that was a
wow.
while ago, and I think it was like 2112 or one of those
Oh, my
albums.
God.
Or maybe one of those. Yeah, I was just a kid, and my ears rang for like 3 days because
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
man.
stuff was so loud back then. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I saw them for the first time in 1993 or 4.
Oh,
on
right.
the Counterparts tour. It was I Mother Earth opened for them, and
wow.
and yeah, like horrible seats, horrible sound. My ears were ringing for days, but man, what a great show!
Yeah.
Where did they play on that tour?
That was Maple Leaf Gardens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And also the sad passing of Nick Blagona, who's a very
Yes.
famous Canadian based producer. He worked with Police and Miles Davis, and
work with your band, right,
And
Phil?
some other band, a little local to here.
we were able to work with him. He was working out of a studio called Yakuza, up at in a reservation, and you would go there, and we were there for like a week, and you sort of slept there, and it was really cool. And he'd tell you all these great stories about the good old days of rock and roll when drugs were a line item on the budget. And it was just, it was just crazy. He said that I think it was one of the Chicago albums he doesn't actually remember doing.
Oh,
Really?
brilliant.
It must have been one of their good albums.
Yeah, it was good fun. So
Did you do you remember any kind of production wisdom or anything that you that stands out as a memory from working with him?
well, he was one of these people who at that point he had done producing for so long. He kind of he was like scratching his butt. Like he wasn't he didn't have to sweat. He just kind of did it.
Right.
So there wasn't any kind of struggles. He just sort of did it, and it was like, oh wow, I didn't know he could sound like that. So yeah, he was a great guy. Just great stories and really good barbecued asparagus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And do you know how he
Really?
passed
Well,
away?
that'll count.
What's that?
Do you know how he passed away?
I'm
How?
sorry.
Do you know
What of?
how he passed away?
Oh, just I think old age basically.
Really?
Yeah.
Old producer.
Yes.
Producer.
He was his first session as an assistant engineer was Moody Blue Nights in White Satin.
Oh, okay. So-
Really?
Yeah.
As producer or as an engineer?
as an
A
engineer.
mixer?
Yeah. So
All right. So,
And
let's see.
Billie Eilish is doing the Bond theme. I
Great.
think that's
That's
pretty
right.
cool.
Big fan.
Okay.
Amazing.
Duly
Yeah.
noted.
yeah.
You don't care, do you, Neil?
I care enough for everyone in this room.
There.
Well, because
All right, fair
I think Adele
You
did a
and me go. We got
fantastic
this.
job on the last one.
Yeah. The Adele one was actually really
It
good.
was pretty good. There was a
Yeah.
weird note in it, though. That every time I hear it, I just wonder. I'm like in the chorus. I will get to it after. It's because well, let me sing it for you.
Yes. Sing it badly. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Lexie and Jon. Let's
welcome.
let's start with how the group works. Like, how's the collaboration? Who's responsible for what, and how does it work?
Well, like currently or
How many
historically?
members? What's the
Just
lineup?
the two of us, and then we work with a third sort of invisible member of our band, a friend of ours. He worked on our first album with another friend of ours named Mark Kosher, and he's one of these polymath people you meet. Every once in a while, you meet people that are like just smarter than everyone else, and he's a great musician. So we've been working with him. We pretty much, Lex and I, write all the songs, and we do a lot of pre-production, and then we used to do a lot of like the finished tracks, and now we really trust Mark, and we let him be a little creative with our sounds. He chops them up and does lots of stuff, but primarily lyrics, Lexie, and I'll be there to, do the session, put down the chords, like figure out what's happening structurally in the song.
Right.
So how are you developing the ideas of the song? Do you start off with kind of jamming stuff out on a keyboard, or?
It depends on the song, I would say. Like, it depends totally if there's, like, an idea already in my head where I'm like, I can't get this one sentence out, and then we start from a lyrical point and see where that might take us. Or moreover, and more often, we would be most likely to be just already working on some sort of beat in our little studio, or I don't know, there's a synth that Jon's been toying with for however long and creating from scratch, and then he's like, oh, I got it, I got the thing, and what would the riff for that synth be if it could sing its ideal riff, and then we develop what that idea would be, and from there the lyrics like kind of drop into place. You start to get like syllables that would make sense to that groove, and then the lyrics end up making sense with those syllables, and then from those words, those keywords that you find, that's how you get the idea of what you're going to write about.
So you sort of sing like sort of nonsense stuff, and then the odd word.
Sometimes, yeah. It's like from the Aliens. It's like, okay, there's like...
I work the same way.
Yeah?
That's the only way I can do it. Yeah,
Okay.
I've never been able to start with lyrics because that's not the way my brain works.
I go both ways, but
But just
flexible that way.
just to like get you guys like perspective on this, Lexie will like, I'll be working on something and she'll be like, we've got an idea and we work a little bit on it melodically, and then she'll just open this little notebook, and in 15 minutes the song's done.
But I'm worried
So one of these
because
people,
I think
right?
it might be the notebook, not me.
Okay,
Like,
wait.
the notebook's almost over. I have
Oh,
two
you don't write
pages
the stuff that's
left.
in the notebook. You
Like,
just
it
have
might
a
be
a
writing
magical
itself,
notebook.
perhaps.
No, so you open the notebook and start writing, or you open the notebook and you've already got lyric snippets.
Well, I've opened the notebook because it's happening. Like, it's coming.
Okay, so you're writing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay.
Often it'll start with like, a couple lines, and then, in the next 15 minutes, it's like this like giving birth of just boom, like it all like flows out.
So
Do you have any techniques that you've managed to do that? I mean, like, was that the way you've always worked?
Oh
or-
man, like definitely there are techniques involved, but I think the most important one is to not come up with bad rhymes. Yes, you know what I mean? Like
Don't force a rhyme.
Don't force a rhyme. Yeah, like a loose rhyme, or like just getting the idea across, or rhyming in a different scheme than you'd normally find intuitive for whatever that song would be is so much more valuable than just trying to be
Do you
like.
ever work with a rhyming dictionary?
I have, and sometimes when I know the syllables that are in place, but I don't know necessarily the context of what it is I'm going to be writing about, I'll know that I want something, even like outside of the syllable land. It could be like, oh, I know that this note needs this vowel, and that's very from like opera training land as well. It's like, okay, that's too high to be an E. It's going to sound really bad if I'm just like E, right? So I got to make it an ah.
yeah.
So if I'm going to land on an ah, what's my word for this? I have 2 syllables, and I'm feeling it's starting with you know what I mean? Like, how am I going to make that fit?
Sounds sustain better than others.
Exactly.
certain
And then when
vowels.
you've got that magic word, that'll like lead you to your next words.
Let's talk about that. That's a great tip. So what vowels work better for long notes?
Well, for long notes, any vowel will work, which is the beauty of a vowel in theory. That is like the whole thing is that it's a sustained idea.
Try to sustain a consonant. See how far.
Are there certain consonants that don't work? Like you
Yeah,
need
of
harder
course.
consonants, you need
Of course.
plosives, or you need
So in university, I took a phonetics class, and we learn all about IPA, which for you is a beer, and for me is a language and an alphabet. But yes, you can learn all about that in it's in Merriam-Webster. Like the first thing in brackets that you see, that's IPA. You know, the strange little
right,
characters.
right.
So that to people like me is the phonetic pronunciation of any word. And when you know the full phonetic alphabet, you can, in theory, pronounce any language, regardless of an
right.
accent or anything like that, because you just read the IPA. So yeah, you can have sustained vowels are the way to go when you're singing a note, because a sustained consonant, like you said, see how far you get. Try a T for a long time. You know what I mean?
S maybe.
Right.
An S or an
Right.
R.
Yes. So there are sustained ones. They're
works.
not cute. They're
Like
not
the pirates.
cute. Yes, like the pirates. Well, in German you have guttural rolled R's, but that's a whole it's a whole nother
And
kettle
Scotland.
of fish. And Scotland, many places.
But
But
weren't you saying like that some groupings are harder to connect going up, ascending and
Totally,
descending? So
yeah.
some like clusters are
Really?
better than others.
Okay.
yeah, and it depends on the range too. Like if you're singing in a really casual, like mid-range or lower range, those things aren't necessarily going to be pertinent to the sounds you're making. But if you're singing in a higher range, like sometimes you need like a springboard to come off of, and I'm making this gesture with my hand that's very much like a diving
Lexie's
board.
currently raising her right hand high
Into
above
the
her head.
air.
It'll be
I am
on the
jumping
video.
off
It'll
the
be on the
platform and
graceful
into the
gesture.
water. Yes, but whatever the vowel may be, like an E is like a really tight. Like later, you can in your bathrooms explore this fun philosophy. But E is really tight and narrow, and it really constricts the vocal cords. And is very open, and it raises the soft palate.
Yes.
And I had many lessons on this in opera school. And the whole point is that like a really good classical writer, like if you've got like little songs by Wolf or something, like he's never going to give you an E that's high up there unless he's literally trying to make you be a mouse for that story that he's telling. You know, like it would never
right.
happen. It's just like good writers would never do something like that. And if they do it, it's on purpose, like to
Right, the
prove a
sound
point.
is part of the story.
Sound is part of the story.
What
Exactly.
about eyes? Are they?
Eyes and
Eyes
E's are quite closed.
closed,
It's
A's
A's
and
and
O's.
O's, and those are
Yeah,
a
those
lot
are the
more
ones I
open.
wanted.
O is a lot like
Yeah, yeah.
typically lower. Ah is always the highest. That's why when you hear people sing like angels, in quotes, they sing with ah.
And sometimes why?
And sometimes why? Yeah.
That's a great tip, actually, because I think a lot of people don't think about lyrics that way. They just sort of think about, I'm
I'm
going
a
to write anything
phonetics
down.
nerd.
Yeah.
I've outed myself twice today. We had an earlier interview at Beers with Bands earlier today, and they asked me the first like concert I'd ever been to, and they were looking for a cool answer, and I was like, Wicked, like the musical, and they were like, I almost got laughed out of
It's
there.
a great
but
That's a
musical.
good musical, though.
It's a great musical.
thank you.
Sondheim,
This
right?
is the second like approval
Sure,
room
why
that
not?
I've gotten. Wicked it's Wicked.
It's a great
Yeah.
musical, actually.
Yeah.
So do you ever
Wasn't
go?
Cats.
You ever go?
I've actually
not
been
talk
in
about
Cats
that.
twice, but let's not talk about that.
So do you ever go fully the other way? Like you come to Jon with a fully conceived lyric?
100%, yes.
100%?
The song that we're coming out with as like the face of the album on Friday is You Do You, and that song was conceived literally. I was taking a bath and I like ran out of the tub and like fell in a puddle to try to get my lyric book because it was like that strong. I had all the words, I had the melody. It came to me in a whole envelope, and I was like, this is the thing. So I wrote it all down, and then I freaked out and I called him.
You recorded on your phone or anything like that?
Yeah. My voice memos are just littered with like infinite song possibilities, which is great. But yeah, You Do You came entirely lyrics and melody first.
So have you developed this, your lyric writing? Like, because, I mean, at one point you started off just writing lyrics. Did you sort of pick up some techniques about how to actually write these lyrics, or?
Like from other people?
Well, or just how did you develop your skill of writing lyrics?
I think it's just something you do with time. Like at first I was just trying to sound cool, and like you write things just to like sound like it's an interesting or profound topic. And then I actually started caring about like, okay, so we've built ourselves a little platform with Crave, like not a big one. Nobody really cares. But at the same time, that for the people who do care, I'm going to speak the truth about what I think. And these two songs that we're going to be discussing today are very much that. They are literally the topics of mental health and the climate crisis. So there you go. But they're in the guise of this like much more ethereal thing, you know? Like they're not just like the planet is dying. Like somebody care.
There's a
like,
little bit of
not at all.
poetry, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about Million Things. So is this the?
Million Things was our. We
is the
broke the
climate change?
seal. We broke the seal with Million Things. So this one is social media and
Yes.
mental health and feeling alone. And I think this one for us, actually, before this interview came to air, you asked us about what our band, like why it's called Featurette. I think maybe Jon might want to take this one because he actually came up with the name, but this is really pertinent to the next answer. So,
Well, yeah, and I think the question we had was like, we did a video for this song. We did actually almost every release of the singles that made up this album we have a video for, which is like kind of like who does that anymore?
and why?
Yeah, and why? And it's partly because we got factor money for it, so we're able to be creative with it. But partly because the idea of this band, like I'd been in a bunch of bands before that had done like, some had done really well, and you know some were signed to big labels and stuff. And a couple of them, they broke apart because of the need for them to have an album format. They had one successful EP or album, and then the pressure was on to perform as well. And when they didn't perform as well, they got dropped. That was the end of their. And I thought that'd be so silly. Like, wouldn't it be great to have a band where you could do whatever you want? The whole point of it, you could make small featurettes. It could be about a small story.
Bing.
One of the bands, we were talking about also the Chalet Studios with Rush, and Rush had recorded up there in Uxbridge, and I was doing some tracks with this band, and they had done an album in LA, like an amazing album, really dark, and the label got nervous about it because it wasn't as commercial as the first album that did really well. So we were going back in and trying to make singles and plugging them into this work. And it just didn't work because you had something that was done in LA that had its own vibe, had its own story. And then it was, it lost its...
Piecemeal.
Yeah, it lost its credibility, I think, to everyone by putting these singles in. So I didn't want to have that happen. So that's why we have this idea of Featurette, like, we want to have a small story. Like Crave is a story.
Right?
Oh, right.
And similarly to that as well, like the visual impact of the idea of a featurette is a mini movie, right? So we wanted every story, every song to be its own soundscape, and then when possible, when funding possible, thank you Factor, sponsored by Factor. Not actually right now, but still. When possible, we would create a video for it because it's literally a featurette. We're literally trying to make a mini film about whatever the issue is, and that was always our goal. So.
All right.
Cool. All right. So let's take a listen to Million Things by Featurette.
'Cause I got a million things, fast cars and diamond rings. Well, I'm down on love, stars from above. The time that we're getting is just not enough. I got a million things. I don't know when we got here, babe, but I don't see you anymore. It's not enough just to work all day and come home to an empty car. Don't know what you're thinking now or what you were fighting for. I don't know when we got here, babe, but I don't see you anymore. 'Cause chose this when we were young, and we hope that it all turned out. Little rats running in a dump, we'll never ask what it's all about. We had a plan for us, it's time to try it out. Gotta make it up if we're gonna play, gotta pray that we'll turn it around. Cause I got a million things, fast cars and diamond rings, but I'm down on love, stars from above. The time that we're getting is just not enough. I got a million things, 'cause I got a million things, fast cars and diamond rings, but I'm down on love, stars from above. The time that we're getting is just not enough. I got a million things. Little chip here, another tear there, then we go around the wheel again. Is it worth putting in this time just to say that we're on the mend? You know that I love you, babe, but why we gotta pretend? I know that you love me, babe, so why? 'Cause I got a million things, fast cars and diamond rings, but I'm down on love, stars from above. The time that we're getting is just not enough. I got a million things, but I'm down on, I'm down, do it again. I'm down, do it again.
Okay. That was Million Things by Featurette. Very
Terrific.
cool song.
Indeed.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, great hooky chorus.
I want to
Yeah.
talk about. So you came right into the song right off the top. There's no intro. There's no musical.
Yeah.
You know,
Introduction. And you're starting with the chorus.
Yeah. Well, we're starting
What's
with a
your
broken
rush?
down version. We're starting with like a broken down version of the chorus. So
Yeah.
while you're all right, also that would also be the intro in our opinion. And
However-
don't bore us. Get to the chorus.
But
or
however,
whatever.
the original rendition of a song did not have that intro.
did
in
not, no.
So I added
Oh.
it. Before we mastered it, I added it in, and we redid it.
So
it was
what
even worse. It was
what
like
was it like before?
It started with the glitchy.
boom chicka boom chicka
Oh, okay,
boom.
so it was a
Like-
musical intro. Yeah.
Yeah.
The skip beat
And
just comes
which
in.
then went into the verse.
Right. So with this one, we approached radio just on a homegrown level. We were like, "Hey, Indie 88, what do you think?" And they were like, "We love it, except the beginning. Like, oh my gosh, imagine that from a programming perspective. Like, just like out of nowhere, you're being assaulted by these drums." We're like, "Good point. Good
Yeah.
point. Let's make a change." So that was John's fix.
Well,
for
it's
that.
so interesting now because back in the day, songs were done with an intro so that the DJ could talk over it, and done with an outro so the DJ could walk out with it. But so many people are listening to and sampling music online. So the first few seconds of a song is really important because that's how people listen to songs now. They'll listen to the beginnings. So is that sort of a part of that as well, or?
Yeah, I never thought about that. I think when we heard I think it's all about impact for us. Like, what's going to be the most effective way of getting your ear into the story? And I think we being of the mind, especially this album, to not take very long to get that to happen. If that makes sense. So
Right.
we don't have like, whereas maybe in our first album we had some maybe a little bit more dreamy, indulgent intros. This one we really want to get into the story. I don't think we have any on this new album. I don't think we have any songs that are over 4 minutes. I think the longest one is 3:58, which is unusual for us.
Was that conscious, or did it just happen?
Yeah,
that way?
it was conscious. At the beginning of this album, we were talking about it being potential for like a pop crossover because it is quite hooky, like you said.
Yeah,
As
the-
it
both the
turns out,
songs are very
as it
poppy.
turns out, pop is like only this one level of extremely squeaky clean, and indie is guitars right now. So, so we're somewhere in between
Somewhere
those
in
two
between,
things,
yeah.
truly crossed over at this point in our whole next non-radio land, just only playing on this station right now. So just for
get
you.
back to the beginning of the song, because it sort of starts out with a very clear melody, but the melody is kind of floating, like it's not really anchored down by the beat yet. So it kind of has this. I mean, you're saying ethereal, but it's not quite ethereal, but it is kind of floaty.
Yeah.
like it doesn't really get nailed down.
It almost
until
sounds like
the
a
beat-
harmony of
the beat comes in.
itself.
How
Yeah,
do you
there's
guys
no
do this?
root. We didn't put the bass in. So
There's
it's just,
no bass in
yeah,
there.
inner,
There's no
inner.
one. There's no, the downbeat isn't quite established yet. How do you guys do it when you do it live?
Well, we have in-ears, so we're very fortunate to have private sounds that don't go out to the
We have a
public.
click. A click.
Oh, you
I
have a
just
click
get
in
3
the
chords.
in-ear.
I don't
Okay.
get a click. I get like chord,
Chord.
because I got
Okay.
right
Oh
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
We do lots of programming. It's just the two of us live. So
Right. So you're running everything off a laptop?
laptop, I've got a kit with triggers, and I got a keyboard she's got a keyboard, and depending on
Okay.
the song, like we have it all routed. So from song to song, everything changes its mapping. It's efficient. Like we have some things playing with samplers, some things we're adding to live. It all depends on the song. But
If you
it's
want to
definitely
talk
gridded
live
out.
gear, John can talk.
What are you
Yeah.
guys using as your DAW
Well,
for live
I'm
performance?
using MainStage, if you can believe, which is something
Really?
you use a $35 add-on to Logic,
Oh.
and then we're using a bunch of other tricks. We have a lighting. Lexie built an LED F that's
Oh.
like programmed to the.
Cool.
It rolls up so you can take it with you on tour.
Pretty cool.
Very
So
wise.
is there room for like improvisation or like going into a jam
No.
or like a scat
No,
thing or something
you
like
are
that?
wrong.
Or
That
or
is
it
not
all,
true. We do have like totally organic moments to our set. We have
Okay.
we do actually a Billie Eilish, thank you very much, cover
Okay.
that we
Good
integrate.
point.
We
I didn't think
integrate
of
with
that.
our song off the end of a song on the album that's coming out on Friday called "Burn It Down." At the end of that song, I sort of do like an a cappella version of that. John comes in on the keys, and then we integrate with "Ocean Eyes" by Billie, which is really cool.
Cool.
Join the audience in, and then come back to "Burn It Down." Integrate the 2 songs because they kind of mesh together, which is super
And that's
cool.
done without. It's right. That's not gridded, and it's all
Sticks
just
and
live. Yeah,
Stones.
it's
We're
super
playing live on Saturday at Winter Song. Plug. And that
Good
as well.
plug, yeah.
Sticks and Stones is it's just keys and Vox, and the keys are not programmed. Like he plays
Oh,
them
cool.
live. So there's lots of moments like that. It's just that we can't always do
Yeah.
that.
I wanted to.
and I wanted to ask questions too, but look, it's the break.
I know.
break time.
Where
Okay.
does time go?
We'll be right back after these messages.
And for those of you just joining us, you are listening to SongTalk Radio, streaming on songtalk.ca. And today we are talking with Electro-Pop duo Featurette. Don't forget, we love to hear from you, even during the show. So why don't you send us an email at feedback at SongTalk Radio. You can send us something on Twitter at SongTalk Radio, on Facebook or Instagram. And we'll share your thoughts on real time. And coming up on SongTalk Radio on January 21st, Electro-Pop singer-songwriter Jaden Lamb. And on January 28th, it's SongTalk Radio's Songwriting Challenge. Everyone to report on their progress.
Yes.
I guess I should have read that stuff in the...
Yeah.
No, okay.
Should have rehearsed.
Could
Yeah.
have put that. Could have looked at the sheet beforehand. So yeah. So we're currently engaged in a songwriting challenge that we started back in December.
Yeah, we solicited our listeners to give us a songwriting challenge, whether it was lyrical or structural or what have you, and we settled on.
We settled on the one that was provided by Dawn, who's in the room with us right now, and it was to write a happy or positive lyric in a minor key.
Yeah.
So where are you guys at?
Oh, so many blind alleys, but
no.
I think okay.
You think okay? You're on the right track?
Yeah, I'm debating doing it as a duet or not, so I'll see if I can find another singer.
Oh, cool.
Cool. How about you, Phil?
I'm working on it. It's
We started?
I get a lot of
mind.
what you call not bad rhymes, but like imperfect
Loose-
rhymes,
loose rhymes,
loose
yeah.
rhymes. Yeah.
yeah, it's I've got a couple of ideas I've been playing around with, and it's but then I have to sit back and make sure, okay, is this actually minor? Because sometimes it's not. So
Yeah.
Well, that was okay. It was just the recording. I keep recording, and then I like in recording, so I don't think I'm going to bring in a recording. I think I'll just play live.
You can just play
Oh,
it live.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for myself, I'm pretty much done the writing process now. I did bounce it off a couple people and changed like a couple of lyrics, but I wrote some of it when I was on holiday in the Dominican Republic. I took the scratch recording that I did have with me
Oh, nice.
on my iPod, and I listened to it, and sure enough, in the lobby of the resort we were staying at was a baby grand piano. So I'm like, oh damn!
So nice.
So I hashed out some more of the chord
Cool.
pattern, and actually I've started some of the chords at the last Songwriters meetup. I was there early So I just jumped on the piano
Your
in
process
the
sounds the
Transac and just started.
You're gonna
Yeah,
win.
go on a vacation, play in the lobby on the.
You're gonna win for
That's the way
sure.
to do
His
it.
most expensive song ever.
Yeah, exactly. The bartender was probably like, "Why is this guy like playing the same thing over and
Oh my
over?"
God,
and
that's
over?
so boring. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I remember I once went out with a girl, and she really wanted to date a musician.
Oh yeah.
And until she lived with a musician, and she realizes that when you're a musician, you play the same thing over and over.
No kidding.
And over. and
Try
over
vocal
again.
editing.
Oh,
Ah,
yeah.
the same horrible sound over and over and fast.
not
and
fun.
over.
It's not
Yes.
fun.
Yeah.
Oh, my
It's not
gosh.
for the faint of heart.
Anything else
Yeah.
there for the halftime there, Phil?
No, I think
Yes.
Well,
That's it.
speaking of like hashing it out on a grand
Yeah.
piano, I was curious about your method in that like your songs are very sparse at times, or you said that like the bass wasn't there or something. So how do you, I guess, start the initial creating of it? Because it sounds kind of the synths and all the sounds
That's the end of
are
it.
nice and kind of intricately done, but there's a lot of space. How do you like? Where's the bed chord that you write the melody to?
I think you're talking about like when it gets to that level of the sparsity like that. It's all about production at that point and arranging and
You've
just
stripped things away.
Yeah,
and-
exactly. So we've got like the full track before this, and it's just way too much. And then we
Right.
go in and we figure out, okay, well, firstly, the song is too long, so we're going to pare that down. Secondly, what are we going to do about like an intro, or like when we want the chorus to hit? Do we want like a broken down chorus in the middle, or like is there even going to be a bridge? These kinds of discussions. But when we're writing, we do write over a full chord pattern, and we usually have the same progression.
Which
throughout.
what instrument do you tend to write on?
Keys.
Keys.
Yeah.
So I'll use Logic, and I'll just bring up any. Usually it'll be like the Rhodes or something really quick. I can like get some sound, or actually like using. There's a great upright grand piano sample library I've got that I got with a drum pack. We got with a keyboard we bought. It was
Cool.
such a bonus.
Yeah.
And
Was it?
I
Yes.
think it's called. I'll try to remember what it is, but I use that, and then we'll basically, very simple, put the
Right.
chords down, what's happening in the song, and then you start building. And then I think
No. First we fight about what the chords are going to be. Then we put the chords down my way. No, okay.
there's different ways to approach. Every
But
song is
in
different.
other words,
but-
you guys could go to an open mic with just you, Jon, on piano and
We
Lexie
could.
singing
We totally
and,
could.
and pull off the
Now,
song.
now
Never
we're not
will.
the kind of people that would want to do that. Like
Okay.
we're like hyper prepared people that like
Yes.
enjoy the method of the intimacy of creation on our own,
Yeah.
and then sharing that with everybody. Like I am not good at rapping. I cannot speak lyrics freely off the cuff. That would make me want to cry.
Yeah.
So I'm never going to want to do that. But if we were to like do our songs like just
Yeah, that's
keys,
what I mean. Like you could do this
Yeah.
song just as a 1+1 as they call
Totally,
it, right?
totally.
Yeah. But part of the fun of this band is like the
Yeah.
Is not
the-
that.
the-
Yeah, yeah, is
making
all
the
that
sounds
stuff, yeah.
like ugly and interesting and like
Yeah,
percussive,
but
right?
but on the other hand, you always want to make sure that the song works as a 1+1.
Exactly.
No, you're
because
100%
then
right.
you got the musicality and you got the actual
Exactly.
changes and all that sort of
Yeah, I
stuff
think
happening.
that's sort of what I was curious about. Like, how do you know it's a song first before you kind of deconstruct it and
It's
make
the
it that way?
chords.
So
Can
it's-
you play it on piano and sing to
Totally.
it? And is it strong
Yeah.
enough on its own? For sure.
because that's one of the problems I think with technology is that it
Yeah.
can fool you thinking that you've got a song, but all you've got is like just like some loops and it sounds cool, but it's not really a song yet.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that by that definition, White Rabbit might not actually be a song on its own.
Well, I guess we'll find
We'll
out.
have to find out.
I did want to talk about the structure of A Million Things. I thought it was interesting because you have a double chorus in the center, in the middle, sort of like
Why?
a.
Why?
it was-
Say more.
But it was because the first, it's the third chorus that you hit, and the first one is kind of very sort of sparse and kind of a bit low key.
It's like
and
the
then you
first
have-
chorus.
Yeah,
exactly. It is
So
the
it's almost
exact
like-
same as the first
So in
chorus.
some ways, it's kind of like a bridge.
Almost. Yeah, so it's exactly. It's functioning basically as a bridge at this point, but what it really is it's a breakdown.
It's a breakdown.
So, and
Yeah.
at the breakdown, it's not a copy and paste directly because you see there's the other vocal layers coming in, so you're getting that hype, and instead of it being like that electronic critical moment of like it's not that at all. It's like the vocal layers are coming in, the excitement is happening, and then boom, back into the chorus, which is what you want to hear, and then oh whoa, there's a third verse, and there's no bridge in this song. It's like a why. It's a little quick moment of
Did you ever
Yeah.
think about making that quiet chorus, like changing up the lyric a little bit and kind of making it more of a bridge?
no.
Not for this
It didn't
one,
need
no.
it. I think if you have three verses, to have another section that's I don't know, that's a
Too
lot.
much? It's a lot?
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And the message is pretty strong in this one. Like we were just trying to stick to the the loneliness that keeps coming back, you know.
I thought it was really interesting that you repeat the lines at the top and the bottom of your chorus. So it's like, it's because I got a million things, and even in your verse, I don't know when we got here, babe, but I don't see you anymore. And you repeat those lines, which I thought was a really interesting technique. I don't see a lot of people doing that.
Yeah,
Well,
this is the thing you do. You do that.
I do
quite a bit.
that, and I do that because people's attention spans are very short. So if you want them to remember
it's
something,
it's really
you
effective.
just gotta give it to
Yeah.
them, right?
Yeah.
You gotta give them what they want.
Well, it works, especially in the chorus. It works because your chorus actually has a lot of complexity to it. Like the melody actually goes to different places. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, so it's a little bit off center
Exactly.
that way. So and then the third, fourth line, it kind of goes to this other place and comes back. So it kind of doesn't sound
Yeah.
like it's repeating itself.
And in talking
it
about,
actually,
like-
it actually feels like a good bookend.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. And in talking about like having a million things and like what this is about, just the materialism of society and like that social media life that we're trying to put our like best foot forward and like always look our best and like I have like awesome makeup on today, even though you can't see it, but that doesn't matter because like that's what our lives are now, right? And the reason we do this is to like show the world that like we're making it or whatever. But like at the end of the day, if you've got nobody to share it with, or if you're not, safe to share it with yourself, like if you're not doing well, what does that all count for? So in the video for this, which is what we alluded to before the break happened, like she's surrounded. She is me and I am her, but we are not the same. She's confident and she's my character. Exactly. She's my alter ego. We call her Featurette Girl for the record. She doesn't have a name. And she's surrounded by
Futurelle.
Featurelle. Ooh, I'm going to write that down.
That's your backup dancers.
Backup dancer. She's
Yeah, the
surrounded
Futurelles.
by like a room full of daisies and like these like lavish bathtub area and like just like too many stuffed animals in her bed. Just like overdoing every single scene that she's in because that's like the image she's trying to put out. But like the intense loneliness is so prevalent in that video. Like she's by herself and like those other weird flowerhead butler people, like are they even there? Are they a figment of her imagination? Are they her weird housemates? Like are they nameless people? Like what even are they? Because like she's so alone, you know?
Wow.
Well, it's the same sort of thing. Like I've been in that situation more and more recently. I find that if I go to an event or a concert or something like do I need to record and post this on Instagram, or can I just sit
Can
there?
I just
and,
be
and
here?
Can I just
live
enjoy
this?
the moment?
Totally.
And just
Did
and
it
just take
even?
in
But
for-
did it even happen if you didn't post it? That's the hard part.
That's true.
Well, it did. It happened in the like same way it did in the old
I
days.
couldn't
before
agree.
we
I
had
couldn't
cell
agree
phones,
with you
right?
more. I'm not a huge lover of social media. My publicity people were like, could you just post a little bit more? I'm like, do I have to? but and it's because like finding that content too is so hard because you're trying to like always put this image forward, and I think we're all very vulnerable in trying to get that stuff done.
There is a little detail, though, which I thought was really handy, which I thought was really great, is in your last verse. Instead of repeating the top and the top line at the bottom, you actually just have a short line, which is, I know that you love me, baby, so why? But there's like this little sort of
Yeah,
gap.
why are we doing this? Like, what is the point of
And
this?
that's the bridge. That's the
That's the
drop,
bridge,
right?
exactly.
The little
No, I
sound
thought
effect there.
I
Yeah.
love that little
Yeah.
sort of detail, though. It's just a little bit of a change. It's not a big thing, but instead of like you set up,
You're ready for the chorus again, right?
and you set up a scheme with your other verses, and just at your last verse, you just change it just enough. I love those little songwriting details.
Thank you.
Well, you'll know it. Like when we're all writing songs, you'll know when things are flat, when there's predictability, when we always say third time.
This again.
Right?
Yes.
Everything works in threes, right? You introduce
yeah.
things in three. By the third time, your brain gets it on the fourth bar. That's when the drum fill comes in, or the fourth cycle, because your brain has already, I get what's happening, and then you surprise them
Yeah,
at the
you
end,
want
right?
something to shift.
So that's
Well,
sort
that's
of
what's tough
yeah.
about working in a pop format is there are structures and you have to find a way.
It's
to
a
surprise
challenge,
people.
but it's very rewarding if you can figure out that puzzle, right?
Okay,
Arrangement
that's
is so
the
important.
challenge.
Let's get on to White
Yeah,
Rabbit.
you
So this
brought
is
in another.
the climate change song.
This is the climate change song.
All right.
Sorry, not sorry.
Let's talk about the writing of this. How did this come apart?
Oh man, this song is a complicated beast. We were just talking about, is it even a song? Like, I'm honestly not sure how you would play this over a guitar. Like, I don't even know.
But
It's
isn't
very,
that how you wrote it from
it's
the
very
start?
production heavy. How did we write this one, John?
this one was, it was dreamy.
Oh, this was lyrics first. This was poetry.
I think you came up with the intro, even
Yeah, I think I remember writing down the line, even the trees don't want you, and being like, that's profound. Like, what does it even mean? And then just like leaning into that, and then there was like sparsity just all around it.
Well, there's a different group. So this one was interesting because the chords are pretty static. The harmonic motion doesn't really move. Like if you just to play it on piano, and we did a treatment. We had maybe about 6 or 7 songs we were thinking about, polishing up for the album. Mark, this is really a credit to Mark. He came in and he's like, that song, I have an idea for that.
Yeah.
He and I were listening to some more like electronic-y, techno-y stuff, and he said, I got some ideas for some of the songs. So basically, he chopped them up and created, otherwise, fairly static harmony, made them more like drums. So that's why the song kind of works. All those things stab you. There's a lot of empty space.
This one's a lot more glitchy than
Let's
the other
listen
one,
to
for
it, and then we'll talk
Yeah,
about it.
good idea. Good idea.
Even the trees don't want you. Even the wind doesn't pick you up. Even the birds won't take you. Even my storm can't light you up. Well, I don't think we have it. You're not my white rabbit. News for you, the brush us off. You couldn't kick the habit. Had to go and grab it. I'ma have to cut you off. Well, always it's all about you, all about you. This time, no. This time, no. And always you find your way through, find your way through. And this time you don't. This time you don't. Even the leaves won't catch you. Even the stream doesn't sweep you up. Even the bees can't hurt you. Even the falls can't shore this up. Well, I don't think we have it. You're not my white rabbit. News for you, the pressure's up. You couldn't kick the habit. Had to go and grab it. I'ma have to cut you off. Well, always it's all about you, all about you. This time, no. This time, no. And always you find your way through, find your way through. And this time you don't. This time you don't. Always it's all about you, all about you. This time, no. This time, no. And always you find your way through, find your way through. And this time you don't. This time you don't. I don't think we have it. You're not my white rabbit. News for you, the pressure's off. You couldn't kick the habit. Had to go and grab it. I'ma have to cut you off. Raise the boat to tender figure. I distract quicker. You are just unbelievable. Your skin should be thicker. My hand on the trigger. So always it's all about you, all about you. This time, no. This time, no. And always you find your way through, find your way through. And this time you don't. This time you don't. Always it's all about you, all about you. This time, no. This time, no. And always you find your way through, find your way through. And this time you don't. This time you don't.
Okay, nice.
Very cool,
Whew,
very
White Rabbit, wicked cool sound design and neat stuff.
Oh yeah.
Okay, who's the White Rabbit, or what's the White Rabbit referred to?
What do you think? Firstly, any guesses?
Is it from Alice in Wonderland?
It is
originally?
from
Is that
Alice
the
in
reference?
Wonderland.
Okay.
Yeah.
From The
So,
Matrix?
what does the White Rabbit say? No, not that one. The White Rabbit says we're late for a very important date, right? So this is all a reference to like running out of time. In the video, with the featurette of it all, the White Rabbit is like ever there, ever present, sort of in the background, just digging, like you're digging yourself deeper into this hole, into this problem, and
So I recall the White Rabbit led her down the hole in the first place.
Well, I mean, yes, if you want to get technical about it, for sure. But
It's just a launching point.
It's
Yeah,
the
I
presence.
know.
It's the presence of being like, we're running out of time. Like
Yes.
this is not
Well,
okay.
There was that line in the first verse, the last line. Even my storm can't light you up. And
Yeah.
I heard this song for the first time just yesterday or the day before, and they had it on the news. That volcano that went off in Malaysia.
I predicted
there was
that.
something about like the ash was like frictioning together in such a way that it was causing lightning.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
does,
It was
yeah.
like in the air,
That's
like
a
it wasn't coming
phenomenon.
from the clouds.
That's
and the
unbelievable,
ground,
wow.
It was like that kind of formation of lightning.
That's incredible. There you
And
go.
It also said the ash is also sharp. Like you can't there
Yeah.
was that big. I don't know where it was in the northern hemisphere, but like planes couldn't fly through it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's changed because
dead
it rips apart
yeah.
airplanes.
Yeah.
Was that Iceland?
Iceland, yes.
Right,
A couple
right.
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, the chorus was really interesting because it's kind of almost like a kind of a hip hop Missy Elliott kind of rhythm to it. The da 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 da
Yeah.
da 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 da. The kind of that sort of
It keeps
runoff
rolling
thing.
forward no matter what,
Yeah,
right?
which I thought was really cool. Was that something that you planned on doing initially, or was that?
I think that was part of the original writing when we sat down. I think we had the first drum treatment I did was very shuffly, like a 12/8 sort of feel, like a triplet-y thing, and so Lexie was like, feeling that a little bit more, and then I think in the latest version we've taken on
Shufflier.
there's no hi-hats to really give you the subdivisions. The subdivisions are
Right.
coming from her,
Oh, okay.
and so that's probably what the big influences are. And there's a couple of the synths we have still like
Yeah, there's a little bit of that.
a little bit of that coming in there too.
And it worked well with the video because he's like digging in the background, like physically digging, right? So it's like that, just like it's gonna keep rolling no matter what you do, unless we do something to stop it. Pay
Right.
attention.
So, I'm curious about the chorus. Lexie, did you write the words first and then come up with that melody, or was it all come at the same time, kind of thing?
I mean, we were talking before this all started about Rush writing whole albums and like not remembering how it went. I wish I could tell you that I remember how that went, but I think we were so into it, and
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
do drugs to be clear, but we were so into it that I do
Yeah.
not know how that came about. I could
Okay.
not tell you, but I can tell you now like what it is about. I could not tell you how that came to be. When things like this happen, usually it clicks in and you just like hone in on it and you just move toward that
Yeah,
goal.
well,
So
it certainly seems that way. That it's really tight. All the words fit well together.
Yeah,
it's
it's
super
conceptually
catchy.
solid.
Yeah, they're very conceptually and executed really, really.
Thanks, guys.
highly-
Whose point of
highly
view
well.
is it from, though? I'm curious. Who's
Well,
speaking?
the
Earth?
way I wanted it to be was I don't think that it's very sexy to sing about climate change. So I wanted it to seem at face value as though it's some sort of dysfunctional relationship.
Yeah.
Which it is
Which-
very
yeah,
much
it
so. But I
is.
wanted it to seem like it's between two people, so that the surface listener is like, "Oh, that's a cool song. I could
Yeah.
get into this band," because you have to think
Yeah.
about those things as
Oh,
a
yeah,
band,
and
right?
it has the vibe of being
And then when you're into the band,
breakup song or
exactly.
something,
And then
yeah.
when you're into the band, you're like, "Oh, wow, ouch."
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this was always about like a conversation about like the earth versus humanity, right? Like always it's all about you, all about you. And it could be like me saying it to somebody who's anti-climate change, or it could be the planet saying it to humanity in general, because even the ones who are for climate change, like none of us are doing enough. There's not enough that can be done at this point. And like John and I were talking about this on the car on the way over, because I don't want it to become like this weird preachy thing, but it's just this issue of like, if the naysayers like get their way, there could be devastation, and if the pro climate change people get their way, we could have a better planet, so there's no downside. Like
Yeah,
that's the part
exactly.
that's really
It's
like
like-
the
Yeah,
crux
yeah.
of this is like, what are we doing?
I think at this stage, it ain't preachy. It's kind of like
We should
shaking
just
people
talk
by the
about this.
collar,
Let's
Yeah,
just
right?
talk
Let's talk
about
about
this.
But
Yeah.
it's I've always it's very when you're very much into a cause, it's easy to sort of hit that cause straight in the face, and that really turns people off. I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
That's exactly
we-
what we
we
were
hard to do a good
discussing.
protest.
Yeah, we
song.
actually did a show a couple years ago on protest songs, and we examined a bunch of protests.
That was,
And-
like,
and-
that
and-
was like 5 years ago.
It was like
We got
a
another
few years
one
ago.
coming up,
but,
I think.
But that was really the thing that came out, is that you don't want to be hitting anybody over the head with,
Yeah.
with the
Totally.
thing. We have Greta, we're good.
Right, we have Greta, exactly. She should
So-
write a song.
so, yeah,
Let's
she
write
should
Greta a
maybe
track. Drop the vocals, get it.
But and that is the opportunity as artists to sort of put your own poetry on into it, and actually to to kind of personalize it, because then when you realize that this is about climate change, then you start reading deeper into it and going, yeah, there is some personal responsibility.
Yeah, there's a nice payoff.
It
when
is,
you get that
it's all about you, all
realization.
about you. Yeah, are we all being selfish?
Yeah.
Kind of thing, right? So
And it gets pretty stabby too. Like when you do figure out what it's about, like the bridge is
Yeah,
aggressive.
the
It's really
end
aggressive.
line is pretty
Yeah.
cutting as well. So
Yeah.
no, I think it's a nice, because like I came to it thinking it was about a relationship, and then I reread it.
yeah,
That's
knowing
what I
it-
wanted. Yeah.
Well, you got me. But then you read the lyrics and you think, oh, that's nicely poetic. No, it's actually being very on its face.
Yeah.
So it's
It's
ni-
interesting though.
nicely
There's
disguised.
lots of bits to this too. Though it's like you've got, you have a chorus which is actually very chorusy. It's, it's not it's not too unclear there, but it's you have another part that's kind of very soft. The
Pre-chorus?
had to go and grab it. I'm going to cut you off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of soft, and then you have there's actually 3 different parts to this song.
It's
even though
soft and also like almost brooding. Like I deliver it in a very soft way, but it's kind of through the teeth almost, Like if I could do it again, if I wanted it to be more biting and in your face about climate change, I would deliver it with a clenched jaw and be like, because it's a soft line, but that it's like that, like it's the power behind that softness.
Well, there's an enormous amount of tension in that pre-chorus, which is
Absolutely.
what a pre-chorus should do. It should really
Absolutely.
hold you in suspense until the chorus drops. This is exactly what you guys have done.
Yeah, it's true. So what's how do people get more of your stuff?
Well, it's
have,
available
like, a
anywhere
release
you
coming
can
out, everything?
stream music. We do. Funny you should ask.
January 17, right?
January 17th, which is
what,
basically now.
3 days,
Yeah,
By the
you
time
can.
this drops on podcast, it'll be out.
If you care about music at all, I don't know if you've ever known this, but when artists run pre-save campaigns, it is enormously important to them to have you click on the pre-save and pre-save their album such that you can boost their algorithms.
What's pre-save?
Well, on Spotify
see
and
this all the
Apple
time.
Music, it's pre-ad. You can sort of already have it in your library for when the release date comes. It'll just auto-pop.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
Yeah, so you're not
And that
buying
helps
anything.
you know ahead of time how much
Exactly.
interest there is. And
Exactly.
also helps-
And that helps the algorithms.
It
how,
helps
like,
robots decide who's got more
Who
excitement.
did
in
good?
the
Did you
release,
do
yeah.
good? Did you
Who's
get
looking
lots of
good, yeah.
clicks? Good for
Okay.
you.
Because
Right,
I've
so-
had other artists
Ma-
request that, and I've done that before. I've done the pre-save
Right.
because I'm like, what do I gotta lose? I'll show pre-save.
make the
Right.
robots happy.
Make
Okay,
the robots
everyone out there,
happy. They're
make
going to run the
robots
world
happy.
anyway. Just be compliant.
And even if
Yeah.
you
Do your
don't,
job.
It's like a
end up
pre-order.
listening to it,
when
it does
the when the
support band.
robots are happy, these
It's a
guys' bank
pre-order.
accounts are happy.
Exactly. Once the
Hard-
robots
we're
are
hardly
happy,
at
the
that
humans
level.
are happy.
There's pennies to be made on
I just-
Spotify,
I
right?
just want to pay off my music debt. Okay, come on, people. Yeah, but so the album's coming out on the 17th. It is called Dream Riot. We labored over this title. Mostly, I labored over this title because Jon was like, "I want something that's never been done before," and I was like,
Well,
"Hello,
that's easy.
That's it's 2020 now. Like we have done it all. So that's why climate change is going to wipe us out because we just got to start again.
Do what we
Because
can.
over
he ran out of titles for
Yeah,
band
yeah, yeah.
albums.
Well, that's
Run
the
the
apocalypse.
gauntlet. That's the apocalypse.
in terms of a featurette,
That's
how
the
many,
apocalypse. Now there's a title.
Yeah.
How many tracks are on?
It's
on
9
song?
tracks, and they're shorter, but it is a journey. It packs a freaking punch, guys.
And there's a featurette for each one.
There's basically
video coming out?
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
new video coming out on the 17th, and we're playing a show on the 18th.
I was just going to say, for the old-fashioned folk who'd like to see their people in real life,
yeah.
you've got a show on the 18th.
We're
Where?
playing in Stouffville for the Winter Song Festival. We'll go on at 4:15 right before the Sadie's
Okay.
main
And
stage.
Anything else after that?
Well, you'll have to wait and see. We have a
Oh,
release
okay.
show coming out, but I can't share yet. So
That'll
lots
be,
of tricks.
that'll be Stouffville, Ontario for those international listeners.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
we got
north of
a lot of
Toronto.
US
And what's
stuff.
the YouTube channel for all the videos?
Everything's at Featurette Music. If you want to find us, get at Featurette Music. You will find us.
Is that .com?
No, like that's our handle
At.
for
Oh,
everything.
I see. Okay.
At.
All right.
At.
It's a handle.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
handle. Thanks so much for having us, guys.
You
Thanks
betcha.
so much.
Great.
And that
Great
is all the
stuff.
time we have tonight on SongTalk Radio. Special thanks to Lexie and Jon of Featurette.
You guys are
Great
the best.
stuff.
Thank you.
Yay.
Great stuff. Send us your impressions on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at SongTalk Radio. Or send us an email at feedback@songtalk.ca. That's an email address.
This is an educational show.
Yes. And be sure to check out our YouTube channel for live performance videos and full episodes. And please stop by the site, songtalk.ca. Subscribe today to the SongTalk Radio podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher.com, Spotify, Podcast Addict, TuneIn.com. And don't forget to sign up for our free newsletter at songtalk.ca. You can find links to all the products, books, and web services we mentioned on the show on our resources page on the website. And if you're in the Toronto area, please join us our next SongTalk meetup meetup is on Sunday, January 26th from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Transat Club here in Toronto. It's free to join on meetup.com and free to attend the meetup. Stop by SongTalk for the link. You guys should come by. We need more
Cool.
Electro-Pop because
Yes.
Yeah.
guitars.
I got no guitars.
And thanks to Rita for handling social
Thank you,
media.
Rita.
Thank you,
Thank you, Rita.
And thank
How'd she
you
go?
to she's around. And thank you to Dawn on the tech board.
Thank you,
thingy,
Thank you,
Don.
Don.
making us sound good. Also, a big thank you to Vanessa Vreeland for her help behind the scenes.
She
at
runs
SongTalk
this thing,
Radio.
really.
And most of all, we'd like to thank you, our devoted listener. You can follow me at neilmodi.com. You can follow Phil.
At the Phil Emery
You can follow
on Twitter.
Michael.
At Proudfoot420
That's on
On-
Instagram.
on the Instagram.
On the Instagram.
Yeah,
And
no Twitter.
Rita, she's being followed this week? No, she's still off the grid. And Don.
One photo
Don
every
Thompson
day.
777 Twittergram.
And of course, Featurette.
At Featurette Music.
Featurette
At
Music.
Featurette Music.
That's on everything.
On everything.
That's great.
All right. And stop by the website, songtalk.ca, browse past shows, and find out how you can be a guest. Keep on writing, and happy 2020,
And keep
everybody.
on rocking.
2020.
Happy New Year, everyone.